structure, and this comes from, this design comes from Holland. And how it works, you see the fantail above, crane your neck, she's basically when the wind catches the fantail starts it then turns the whole roof cap mechanism, so the whole roof cap turns until it's, and when the fantail stops turning, it sets the mainsail into the eye of the wind. It's a very clever bit of engineering, because then if the wind changes, the wind veers off, the fantail starts moving again, the roof cap moves around the ball until it's set the mainsail back into the into the eye of the wind. Previous to this, windmills would have been on posts, so they would not have been nearly as stable. But also, I went down recently to the Skerry Mills, which are just north of Dublin. They have a water mill and 2 windmills, but their windmills are tar windmills with the roof cap turning. But there are previous ones to this, and although the roof caps turn, the older one, when the wind changed, they had to have 6 men with planks lift the roof up and turn it around. It was a lot of effort. And the one that was a little bit further, a bit more progressive, they would have had a horse attached to a rope that would have, when the wind turned, they would have turned it with the horse pulling around. So this is a much better bit of engineering. It's a bit like a helicopter, actually, how it works.
What do you mean it was on poles?
On poles. Before, it would literally been on posts. Windmills would have been on posts.
Do you mean the top part just?
No, the actual, they hadn't quite got the design. Like this, if you have windmills which are just pulling up water and things like that, they are actually because they hadn't actually designed the back mechanisms and everything inside, so which they needed to actually grind and things like that.
So it was all posts and
It was
operated it then?
very original. Just
Alright.
didn't know that. Wouldn't have been so stable. What I was about to say there, I've now lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I put you off again.
That's okay. This is what's known as a provender mill, which made food for animal and human consumption, for both actually. With that, I think we'll head around the far side. It's going to be even windier. I'll just put my water here actually. Watch the ground that you don't fall over the manhole cover.
That's it. Wind turbines. Do you know what a wind turbine makes? Electricity. It's alright.
So if you look up high here, do you see there's a black metal rod sticking out? That's what's known as the striking rod. And that's what works with the roller reefing system. So I have a little demonstration cocktail stick. Originally I had an umbrella, but it very quickly blew inside out, so now I've got some cocktail sticks. So basically at the moment it's closed in. So all the sails are reefed in. When it's pushed right out, it's operated from inside. The sails unfurl. If you look at the sails, you can see the mechanism. There's a wooden bit that pulls all the way down, and then there's a sort of a tiny bit that actually, the canvas that actually pulls each sail down. So that's how that works, and that can be operated from inside, opened and shut as the sails are turning. The other thing is, whenever you see a windmill, you draw a windmill, you always see it like that, which kind of makes sense because then the water can drip off it or whatever. Right? Do you ever see a picture of a windmill just stopped like that? They used to stop sometimes like that, and it was a code. And the code basically was a code to say it's only stopped temporarily, so it is actually going to be moving again soon, so just be careful. So it could be there might have been fixing something inside, or it could have been that if you needed to fix a sail, you had to climb up it like a ladder. And apparently, I believe, you're not a miller until you've gone through an initiation process, which is you were tied to a sail and went around at least once. That's actually what I told my new tour guides when I
that could be the next what do you call it? You know, one of them rides at Port Royal somewhere.
Right, let's head in.
So how long have you been working here then? And obviously you enjoy it.
I love it.
You can tell you enjoy it.
I just love telling stories.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah.
No, and I also love meeting people and things actually, so it's fun. There's another mouse there, yes. So, in fact, if you press the buttons on there in a minute, you can see it actually working. And we'll be going upstairs and you'll see how it all works. Now, so we're on the ground floor of the windmill. This is where the whole process would have been begun and finished of the grinding of the core. So the sacks would have been brought in. At harvest time, this would have been full of sacks. And then the sacks would have been hoisted up here. 3 floors, 3 trapdoors, bang, bang, bang. And when it was banged 3 times, the miller knew the sack was at the top. So he did design it, one man could run it by himself, but to be honest, that would have been very hard work. He'd been running up and down like a yo-yo. But there usually would have been one person upstairs unloading and one person downstairs sending the sacks up. And then the grain would have been put through the hoppers, which you'll see when we go up, and then ground by the millstones, then through sieves to take the husks out, and then come down chutes into the sacks here where the flour would have been. And the miller then would have checked it. And if he didn't think it was ground well enough, he sent it up again. And that's where the saying, a miller was, you know, as I said, he was an affluent man, and that's where the saying, something's worth the miller's thumb comes from. So, these 3 big screws, whatever you call them, what do you call those? I can't think the name actually, suddenly it's gone from me. But that's what was used to operate. The millstones had to just about touch, but very close, but not quite, not touch too much, because sparks was the biggest fear. And fire would have been the biggest fear in a windmill with sparks. So anything that had metal as well, you couldn't have metal against metal, it would always be wood against metal if anything was moving, because fire was a big problem in a lot of windmills. Now there's 2 doors. Why do you think there's 2 doors? Possibly coming in and going out, but why? Anybody any ideas? It was locked in. If you imagine, just say you come in this door and the wind had changed, and then the sail is going over that door, you couldn't go out that door. You'd have to go out the other door. So actually, there is, not in this windmill, but there is stories of millers, well, one particularly on the Arts Peninsula, whose wife called him for lunch and was so keen to get his lunch, she went out and put more on the sail, not so good. But there's a button, unfortunately it's not working, the powers of being haven't let us get working yet again. It's that it was actually made the sound of what it sounded like in here, with the sail going and the millstones going, it was really noisy. And to be honest, the miller would have not just been deaf, and his lungs and all the dust, you know, it wasn't a very healthy thing. The only thing, it was only happening, this would only work at harvest time, it was only for a few months of the year, the rest of the year it actually was quiet. So.
Would the miller have lived here the rest of the year then when it was quiet?
The miller lived in the miller's cottage.
So he still lived there all year round. And one other thing is, what sort of working day what time would they have started at? What time would they have finished at?
They basically worked when it was harvest season, they worked all day when it was light. And yes, basically, in whatever the light hours would have been in sort of September time, I suppose. Actually.
Very much like the farmers.
Yes, yeah, but also you couldn't have had candles and stuff in here because of the forest. So basically, while it was light, they worked, it was continuously. So, right, and with that, we are going to head.
Could I just ask one question before you go? What's this thing here for?
Well, the only thing we reckon this is for, there's a big gap underneath here, and it has a little opening outside, and our reasoning, we think, is actually purely to clean out the dust and any dirt, because he didn't want that going out straight out the door where everybody was coming in and out.
Yes.
So it was literally, if you lift it up, you can actually see It's just a great big hole. It does actually lift because I had it lifted the other day. So it's just a big hole to, and then it's got a gap there that you can actually brush it all out. It can be sent all out outside.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was where they hid something, but that's most likely what it was. Or for washing, if you can actually wash the floor or something, you can literally just wash it straight outside that way, so you're not putting it out where everybody's coming in and out. So, any more questions?
No, I'm fine, thank you. It's not working. She said there's something wrong with it. But
Oh, it is working. It worked a wee bit there. Ah, it is indeed.
It does have light. It used to have lights, but the lights don't.
There you are. You fixed it.
Jax is working. Nothing's wrong with you.
And you can see what we're going to see when we go up.
Look, can see the
brilliant.
thing going round, Jax? You know where you were grinding the... Look at that, isn't that amazing?
That's fantastic.
It's very cool. I've got the drawings of that down in the office down there. So we're going to head up upstairs. Now, just before we go, I just want to warn you. There's 3 flights of steps, and they are quite steep. And some people find it a bit claustrophobic or don't like the heights. If you don't like it, you're very welcome to come back down. But make sure if you come back down, you come back down backwards, like you're going down a ladder. Otherwise, I get tumbled. And I'm going to send you guys up first. And now I want to go up first, to go up the 3 sets of floors, stairs. And when you get up to the top floor, just wait for me and I'll be right behind you. If somebody has left the gate open on the top floor, just push it open. They could have put a catch on the left-hand side. I think it's actually open from the last group, but sometimes it's been pulled across, so just open it up and go through. Okay, so who wants to go up first?
I'll go with the camera. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
you go ahead. Just watch your head in various points, please.
Yep,
Okay?
no problem.
You've left it on the plus side. So somebody might be just trying to fix something. It's managed to leave it on the plus side.
This is amazing, folks, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. One thing I will say is not a big lot of room. You couldn't really swing a cat, as I say in here. One more and that's it.
Oh, Jax, this is massive inside.
That's us up at the top, folks. Quite amazing. I haven't been up here since I was a wee boy.
It's very interesting to hear all of it.
Isn't it? Well, I was a wee bit smaller than him, I think, whenever I was up here last. That was years ago.
There's the big look. There's the big round hook. You can see the things outside. Look at all this twice.
I'll just shut this.
Sorry. Oh, yes, that's fantastic.
Right, so we're now on what is known as the hopper floor, as it's got hoppers. Now, do you remember at the moment the fantail is sitting out this side here, okay? So when the fantail moves, it moves the whole roof on the, so you see the black rail going around? The whole roof turns on the black rail. So, and as I said earlier, everything in here is either original or replaced with the same as original materials, except for one thing, which are these steel beams. And they have made a problem because they're too heavy, and they've made the roof cap a little bit too heavy, and the roof cap is dropped by 2 millimeters. So it shows we do one thing, and we think we're better, but actually it shows how precise the engineering was. Quite extraordinary how precise it was. Apparently it is fixable, and it's not too difficult to fix. And there's something on the fan tail that needs fixing as well, so it is fixable. We just need to get them to come and fix it. So when the mainsail, it would have been really dangerous in here, because if you think the roof is turning, everything is turning around, and then when the sail starts turning, everything starts turning in all different directions. So when the sail turns, the wind shaft, which is the big horizontal wide beam going across, it turns, which you can see here. Then it turns this, which is known as the brake wheel. It's got the brake on and rolling. This was actually taken off yesterday so they could turn it. And then the wallower, which is attached to the main shaft, is pushed over where this gap is in the floor and engaged in the brake wheel. So then that would have been turning, and this main shaft goes down 3 floors. It goes down another 2 floors where it turns the great big spur wheel on the drive floor, and then the millstones can be engaged into that big drive wheel, and that's how the sail turns the millstones. So this main shaft, we believe, was from a shipwreck, a main mast from a shipwreck in Donaghadee. And you can see the rope burns on it. In those days, there would have been 2 or 3 shipwrecks a week on that bit of coastline. And they had if you actually saved sailors, you could actually help yourself to salvage. But they used to have wreckers who would sit with lights, particularly around Ballywater or Robins area, and entice the ships onto the rocks so they could save the sailors and then help themselves to the salvage. And then they built a lighthouse on Lighthouse Island in the Copeland Islands. What's that? Okay, do you need to, okay. When you go downstairs, you're going to go with me. Sorry. Okay. That's okay, come back up, come back out, because I haven't actually locked it, just I've just got to see where the lock is. Okay. You talk on. I'll talk on, okay. Yeah, so Lighthouse Island, they built a... You're supposed to go backwards.
I know.
They're
not getting controlled.
They're not being allowed back.
So they built a lighthouse on Lighthouse Island, but then the ships actually avoided the lighthouse and they went into the lower island of New Island, and so they had to move the lighthouse from Lighthouse Island onto New Island. And now, so the Lighthouse Island doesn't have a lighthouse on it, even though it's called Lighthouse Island, which is very Irish.
Yeah.
This mast, though, apparently, I literally learned from a guy who was here the other day. George Bennett, when he bought it, it's actually been lying in Bangor Harbour for 30 years, and then they brought it up by boat, and then somehow by horse and cart. Brought it up. Everything came by boat actually, because it was much easier to bring heavy things.
There's actually an orange hall close enough far from where I live, and I was told that their flagpole was the mast of the Mountjoy. So I thought the Mountjoy, that was one of the ships that was a siege at Derry, broke the boom and all that. So when I investigated, it turns out it is from the Mountjoy, but not that Mountjoy. It's actually from one of the gun-run ships.
Okay. And it was called Mountjoy as well. It was called
Mountjoy. It was named after the Mountjoy. Actually, they brought the guns actually also into Donaghadee Harbour.
Yes.
So they did, and the grandfather of James Craig is actually buried in the parish church at Donaghadee. I done a wee video on him. So I did. Could I ask you one other wee question? Was there a man that hung himself here?
Yes, there was, and I would not, that's a good time to ask that, because I don't usually mention that.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah. Do you remember when we looked? I mean, I would mention it if it's just adults.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we looked at the family tree and there was five sons?
Yes.
The youngest son was called Arland. He was called Arland Schmidt. This is German sort of name. And in his, I think he was 37, 38. He had been in hospital on and off over 6 months with stomach problems, and he was suffering mentally. I don't know mentally whether that was from his illnesses or his mental health. And his brothers one night found him. He was actually hung from where the hoist of where they hoist the sacks up.
My
And
goodness.
he was found about 4 in the morning, and he was only about 37 or 38. And I read the inquest of it, and it makes it become very real when you're reading the doctors and the brothers and the friends' report. It suddenly becomes very, very real.
What did they know why he hung himself?
All I know is that from the inquest was that he had been in and out of hospital over the 6 months before with stomach issues.
Yes.
And so whether he was ill or whether it was just mental, mental illness, I'm not actually quite sure, but he had been in hospital. So, but not for mental, it was more for stomach issues. So, right, so if we come over here, so
You want to?
I'll be okay, I'll just stand in here.
So if I put this down here, you can see I have just engaged this into the wallower. So this bit here, well, it's not more or less.
It is, it's touching it, yeah.
So I'll let go. So this would have been pulled down, engaged, and this is how they use the power of the wind to hoist the sacks up. And this is the third trap door that the sacks would have come up through. And then when the sacks would have come up through, then whoever was up here would have put the grain down one of the hoppers. Now the hopper on the east side, that was for wheat meal. The one this side on the west side was for oatmeal. And the little one over there was for shellings. That was more for animal feed. So when you go down 2 floors, if you look, it's quite hard to see. If you look carefully on the drive, where the drive wheel is, you'll see there is sieves below these 2 hoppers to sieve out the husks, but not under that one. So that was most likely used for animal feed because the animals could eat the husks. So the other thing, there's a hoist. So if they needed to get anything up, they hoisted up using the power of the wind. There's also a ladder, so if they needed to go up and fix anything, or if they were operating the striking rod, they went up the ladder to do that. There's a little platform out where you go to the fantail, and you'd use the ladder to go up there. I've been up there and looked out, not going there again. Especially in weather like this. And then I had, about a year ago, I had a man up here called Hugh Shepherd, a lovely man, and he said to me he'd been up in 1945 or 46 on his 4th or 5th birthday with his father, and his father had engraved his name in here. Now if you look around, there's lots of names engraved in here. So we looked for his name, we looked for his name, and we couldn't actually find his name that day, but in the meantime I found over there, we'll have a, I'll actually show. Don't you stay here, because there's something interesting to show you just there. But just here, for the other thing here, you see it says Lily Bennett. Is that some descendant of George Bennett, possibly? And Cambridge Embassy 1934, just here. That's one of the ones, the older ones I can find. But then what was fascinating, yesterday morning, it was the first tour I had of the day. There was a group of 5 people. One of them was actually from Costa Rica. But this man, he said, "Hello, Lizzie," and I said, "Hello," and he said, "Do you recognise me?" I said, "I do, but I don't know why." And he said, "I'm Hugh, I'm the man who came up to look for my signature." And he said, "I brought all my family back." Anyway, so we came up here and had a look, and we found it. And his name, so literally yesterday, we just found his name. We didn't find it the first time, and it says H.H. Shepherd just there, and that was him who came yesterday. So I've got a lovely picture of him on my phone.
So he was able to see it?
Yeah, we were able to see it. Yeah, I've got a picture on my phone right here of yesterday, literally yesterday.
And who was this, sorry?
Hugh Shepherd, and his father brought him up. He came up last year looking, and his father brought him up looking for his signature. And here he is beside his signature yesterday.
Oh, fantastic.
And it was a year ago he looked, and he brought his family yesterday, and they found it. Isn't that lovely?
And did he write that when he was a wee boy or something?
He did. His father wrote it when he was 4 or 5.
That's wild,
I
isn't
read
it?
back, and he always remembered it. So that was with his.
Isn't that amazing?
That was rather lovely yesterday.
Yeah, brilliant.
Did anybody? Yeah, but he actually, especially that he actually found it. Did anybody want photos taken? Oh, do you want me to open that for you? Did anybody want photos taken while they're here?
So is that basically the wee talk over then?
No, we're going to do a little bit more.
Oh, well, a bit more as we go down?
As we
That's
go
no
down.
problem. Well, maybe I'll just wrap this wee video up here and do another one downstairs.
Do you want any photos?